Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyofacation.com or enter to win a free cruise for two. Again, www.thejoyofacation.com. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on the air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul, and I am delighted to welcome this week on the Joy of Cruising podcast, Brandee and Shannon Lake, a couple of special guests who were recently sailors, roommates, on Royal Caribbean's Ultimate World Cruise on Serenade of the Seas. We want to get their reflections about the special cruise which left Miami December 10th, 2023, and disembarked in Miami on September 10th, 2024. Shortly after embarkation, Ultimate World Cruise became a social media sensation, and for several passengers, it became a social media obsession. One of the best known of those passengers was Brandee Lake, and the Joy of Cruising podcast was fortunate to have her on the show earlier in the year on episode 115. In addition to being cabin mates for 9 months, Brandee and Shannon host a podcast together, Brandee Files, and they did publish a couple of episodes from Serenade of the Seas during that time. I enjoyed immensely when Brandee joined the podcast. It is now my pleasure to bring Brandee back to the show and welcome her sister Shannon and hear the highlights of the Ultimate World Cruise. Learn about its aftermath and its path forward, and talk to Brandee and Shannon about their cruising plans. Welcome, Shannon, and welcome back, Brandee, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So how are you both doing?
Doing well. It's a little interesting to be back on land, but overall doing good.
Yeah, definitely. It's been an adjustment, maybe more of an adjustment than I thought, but doing well.
Well, last time when Brandee was on, I asked at the end, what do you suppose you'll do first when you get home in September? So, Brandee and Shannon, what did you do when you first got home?
I don't even have to think about it. My first stop was to the Mexican restaurant.
So that tells me you love Mexican food, and it wasn't all that on Serenade of the Seas.
It wasn't traditional Mexican, I'll say. Yeah, it was like the flavors weren't quite the same.
Okay.
So although it was good, it wasn't what I was used to for like the Mexican restaurant at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Brandee? What did you do first?
The funny thing for me is it seems like it wasn't that long ago, but I can't remember what I did. There wasn't like one thing that I was missing apparently that I just had to go run to. But what I did do was stay in Miami a few days longer because I wasn't ready for it to end.
Did you stay as well, Brandee? I'm sorry, Shannon?
No, I went back to Atlanta.
So how long did you stay in Miami?
I stayed for about 5 days after the cruise.
Do anything that you can talk about?
Yeah, no, for sure. So yes, I cooked. So I was super excited to cook. I should say I do know exactly what I did do. I was happy.
Would you stay in an Airbnb?
Actually, I stayed with some friends from the cruise. They had a place in downtown Miami and they let me stay. And I just was so happy to be back in the kitchen. I didn't know what to do.
Cooking's something we both enjoy, but at that immediate off the flight, I was like, I don't even have groceries yet. I can't cook. I'm going straight for the Mexican restaurant around the corner.
Oh, so you actually went to a Mexican restaurant in Miami?
Oh, no, sorry. When I got I flew again. So we got off the ship.
Okay.
And I went to the airport to fly to Atlanta.
Okay.
And once I got back in Atlanta, I went back to a Mexican restaurant that's around the corner from my house.
Mm-hmm. So how's the family faring after their time on Serenade? I think it was your parents and your brother?
So,
Well,
go ahead, Shannon.
I was like, it was our parents, and then we gained a brother on the cruise. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, the fellow cruiser, Antoine, he became our cruise bro.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So anyway, how's your parents recovering well?
I think my parents both went into go mode. They're doing well. My dad turned over a new leaf. He became a vegan. He's been exercising a lot. And my mom,
Get out.
yeah,
He became a vegan as a result of being on the cruise?
said no one
Yeah.
ever, right? But yes.
Wow.
Um,
What motivated that?
there was another
I
couple.
mean that sounds like something that was building over time.
No, not really. There was another couple on the cruise that we were with a lot that was plant-based, and dad decided he would try it along with them towards the end of the cruise. It probably was only like the last 6 weeks, to be honest. And then he stuck with it.
And I think they really had a lot of conversations about how they had other family members and friends change their lifestyle and maybe not need to take some of the medication that they were taking before. And like, I don't know, different ailments that they knew were a direct link to what they were eating. And so I think it sounded interesting to dad to try to figure out, like, oh, maybe there's another way that I could be living my life and do this. So,
That's fair.
Now,
Yeah.
uh, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't your dad in the fitness?
No, not at all. No,
No?
no. I mean, he was an athlete in college, but no, he's not in fitness at all. Um,
Oh,
so
okay.
actually, I do
Okay.
also the other thing on the exercise front. It was one of his goals to be able to walk around the ship um, without pain and stuff in his joints and his knees. And he definitely made it. And he ended up walking around a couple times. And so, yeah, now he's been exercising probably about 4 days a week. So we're proud of him.
and I think he
Okay.
had inflammation and he's noticed a difference in his inflammation since he changed how he's eating.
Okay. Okay. I
Yeah.
mistakenly thought he was in the fitness because I interviewed someone else from the Ultimate World Cruise and Todd Truax. You all know Todd?
Actually, I do
Okay.
not.
But he mentioned someone that was really, really built and working out all the time. So I thought maybe that was your dad.
Oh, I bet that was Heinrich.
Probably.
Yeah.
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 It was another family that was on that had a whole family with their kids and stuff.
So for starters, tell our listeners about yourselves in general. Where you're from, where you live, professional background. Say a little more about your family. We've already said a little bit about them. Anything you would like to share?
I'll let you go first, Shan.
Oh, thanks. So originally we are from East Lansing, Michigan. So you might hear us talk about Michigan at home. And then I'm currently in between Atlanta and Nashville. They're both home bases for me right now. Um, and we were on the world cruise with the two of us, Brandee and Shannon. We are sisters. We were cabin roommates for the whole 9 months, and we were also traveling with our parents, Nate and Pat, who were in a separate cabin. And professionally, I am in transition right now. I do some graphic design, I do learning design, and I'm also moving into the coaching space for professionals.
Shannon, are you looking to stay to work remotely or you're kind of open?
I am preferred remote, but I am a little bit open. Yes. Before the cruise, I was also working for myself. I'm an independent solopreneur contractor. It depends on the project. So I'd been working remotely before we left, and now coming back, looking to see how much traveling I'm doing at present, or if I'm going to stay rooted for a little while.
Okay, Randy?
Yes, since the Ultimate World Cruise, I have decided that I'm going to be nomadic. I couldn't see spending LA rent for 9 months, so I gave up my place before the cruise. And now that I'm back, I gave up my place and I left, and things ended with my job before the cruise. So now that I'm back, I'm nomadic and I have started a travel agency. So I'm doing that full time and I'm doing group trips. So I still won't be like landside or I guess US side, US soil side for probably about a quarter of the year. So I have loving parents and a loving sister and nice friends who let me sleep in their guest rooms. So I am nomadic at the moment.
Okay. Well, best wishes with the travel business. We started a travel business recently ourselves.
I saw that. So yeah, getting
Yeah.
in there together. Same. Best wishes to you.
So let's talk about cruising. My listeners like to hear uh, individuals' cruising background. So, when and on what ship for each of you was your first cruise?
I cannot tell you which ship, but I can tell you what cruise line and which and when it was. It was my high school spring break. So that would have been like March or April of a long time ago. I'm not going to say. And it was a carnival ship with my three really good childhood friends, and then one of their friends. Yeah.
What were your initial impressions?
Initial impressions, we loved it because we actually got to go out to the little club at night. And, like my mom chaperoned us. She did not let us go on the big school spring break trip. She said, no way, no how. So we had a lot of fun because we kind of just were having the run of the ship. Actually, I feel like I kind of did the same thing as an adult on the Ultimate World Cruise. But yeah, having the, having the run of the ship.
How about you, Brandee? I keep saying I'm going to do this all day. How about you, Shannon?
It's okay. I'm used to it. I'm the younger sister. This happens to me my whole life. Uh,
So our mom does it too. Our grandma does it. It's fine. We know who you're talking about.
okay. It's similar for me, and that it was the same trip, but well, not the same trip as Brandy's trip, but my mom did the same thing for me like 4 5 years later, where we went on a senior trip on a cruise ship. But I remember mine, maybe because I'm a little younger. I don't know. Mine was the
Yeah, those brain cells die off by the millions as you age.
yeah.
Shooting shots.
Mine was a carnival ship. It was the Celebration. I'm not sure if it's still in circulation or if they still use it, but that was
It was the old Celebration.
probably, yeah.
Yeah, because they have a new ship, uh, uh, a great new ship called the Celebration.
That was definitely the old one. So that was my first cruise, and I was with my two best friends at the time, and my mom and my best friend's mom, and we just had a good time because at that point too, we were close in age to most of the crew, so didn't really the cruisers. I think the fellow cruisers were a lot older than us. There weren't too many teens on the ship at that point, but we had fun just being with each other because we always knew how to have fun. As long as you're with the right people, the location just adds to it.
Hmm.
And then I remember one of the ports was the Grand Cayman Islands, and I had a high school friend who was going there for her spring break. So we were able to go meet up with them and hang out on the beach together with some people we
Oh,
knew.
good, good. In those with that early cruise, did either or both of you get hooked, or did it take some time?
It definitely took time for me.
One feeling, huh?
It was, I think because I was so young and the population of the cruises, it wasn't what cruising is today. They didn't really cater to my age group at that time.
What were your first cruises back? Let's move much further along in age. What were your first cruises back after the COVID lockdown?
I think mine was the Ultimate World Cruise. Quite sure it's the Ultimate World Cruise. Yeah. I
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't consider myself a cruiser. So just contrary to popular belief, although we were on the Ultimate World Cruise, I have gone on some cruises, but I wouldn't consider myself necessarily a cruiser. I don't have anything against it. It's just not been my main primary mode of travel. I'm usually a land traveler.
Same. I would say that the Ultimate World Cruise actually opened me up more to thinking about being a cruiser.
Agreed.
Like, we really got on the trip because of how can you go to this many places around the world in that amount of time in the other way. So it was kind of more about what the cruise ship allowed you to experience and less about what cruise life is.
I think it's kind of a good thing though, because since I hadn't been a big cruiser and hadn't really cruised in a long time, I think that having my first cruise after the lockdown be the Ultimate World Cruise, I didn't have anything to compare it to. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I miss the good old days of this on a cruise or that on a cruise, because I don't even remember what the good old days were.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I was
So,
thinking
so
the preview cruise.
Oh, that's true. That's true. We did do the preview cruise. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. There was a preview cruise for the Ultimate World Cruiser.
what was the preview cruise? I don't remember us talking about that.
So there was, if you booked your Ultimate World Cruise and paid in full by a certain date, then there was like a media cruise / Ultimate World Cruisers weekends. And we were like some of the first people on the Wonder.
Yeah, it was like a soft opening for the Wonder.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, we did. It was just like 2 nights though. So, but yeah, that is technically the first cruise after the pandemic, which is at the time, of course, the biggest ship in the world, because that was before the Icon. So yeah, much different than the Serenade.
Well, that was pretty what's the word, gutsy on the part of Royal Caribbean, putting you all on a state of the art ship like the Wonder, and then having the World Cruise on a ship that probably could fit in the in the
In
what
the
do you call
bow.
the walkway?
Oh,
You
the
know,
promenade.
the
Yeah.
promenade.
It
Yeah.
was it was nice though to see what was coming, or like what Royal Caribbean had on the books. But it also, I feel like I looked at it more of getting to meet people that we were going to be with and less about the amenities of the ship. Although like I thought the Bionic Bar was pretty cool, but
And also, I would
I
have never
mean,
wanted to be on a ship with that many people for 9 months. So it was beautiful, but it's fine.
If I can be nosy, the preview cruise, was that gratis? I mean, did they just invite you to that, or did you have to pay to be on
I would say nothing with the World Cruise is free.
that?
I mean,
Okay, that answers that.
Yeah. No, I mean, like it was invitation, but obviously if you paid for the World Cruise, then you paid for it on some level, but it was not an addition to the cruise.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good then. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my question because those the media cruises, a lot of times they invite, or not a lot, always they invite media on, and some bloggers and content creators and people like that. So that's pretty nice that they invited you all on. How many people from the Ultimate World Cruise took advantage of that opportunity?
I'm honestly not sure, but again, you had to have already been you had to already have registered for it and had a certain amount paid. So you have to think that everybody hadn't. This was a full year before the World Cruise, so there were still some people who hadn't even signed
Oh,
up
okay.
yet. It was literally exactly a
Okay,
year to the
okay,
date from when we started. So
okay.
yeah,
I don't know really how many there were, but there were definitely some people that we had met and then recognized again when we linked back up when we got on the ship.
yeah. There were
Okay, so you did get a chance.
I
I'm
was gonna say
sorry,
there
go
were
ahead.
definitely some people that did not actually go also that we met on the preview cruise that didn't end up coming on the Ultimate World Cruise.
That is true. Yeah.
Now, help me understand that. They had paid their money, and they just backed out for obviously good
Yeah,
reasons, I
I don't
guess.
know. Everybody's life situations are different. So
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting. Shannon, I direct this question to you since I asked Brandee when she was on before. I suspect your answer is probably going to be similar to Brandee's. What motivated you to embark on the Ultimate World Cruise?
our mom, uh,
As I said, I suspect it would be similar.
We'll be right back.
The Joy of Cruising podcast guests receive a gift sponsored by GigSky of a 3 gigabyte cruise plus land data package valued at $60. Relying on ship Wi-Fi is slow, unsecure, and sometimes not available. And at foreign ports, travelers don't want to pay their carriers high fees. GigSky provides a solution that will save them a significant amount of money. To get your own data package usable on the ship or in ports, here is my link to GigSky. https gigsky.pxf.io/NLOXOR. This can be found in the show notes below. For a 10% discount, use the code Joy of Cruising.
I mean, our mom really has been, I think, the catalyst for us being the travelers that we are, in addition with our grandmother who has since passed. Like, they were big travelers. And so it's in our blood. And when she said that she and our dad were going to go on this trip, we were like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. We're going and we're not going. We're going.
I think those were Brandee's exact mannerisms 8 months ago or whenever she was on the show before.
Well, we are
It's
sisters.
like, wait. It reminded me of what of how I think my daughters would react if I said that
You
to
don't have
them.
to think. I'm sure they would.
Yep, yep. You were cabin mates. Did that bring back recollections of you growing up as sisters?
I'm going to let you take that one, Brandee.
Just when I was going to let you do it. Honestly, we didn't really share a room much when we were young. We probably shared a room maybe at age 3, and like she was 3 and I was 7 or something like that, if that. And then we kind of had our own room. So no, it did not bring recollections of that because we didn't do that.
Okay, you were lucky. No fighting as a kid and all of that stuff. I tell you, I have 5 brothers, so there was a time the 6 of us, and I can tell you how we did it. So I know it's going to sound like an exaggeration, but there's a time the 6 of us lived in the same bedroom.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Yep. So that's interesting because I would have assumed that you spent a lot of what's the right word, sisterly time together as youths. So what was it like being closer together for 9 months as sisters?
Yeah, I would say it probably did the reverse. Like rather than bringing up things from childhood or bringing up childhood memories, it might have brought things up from childhood as an adult that we didn't know about in childhood because we didn't share space like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think we just learned, or I learned about myself that I need more quiet than I knew. Like, I hadn't been living with roommates in a long time and living in close quarters. Brandy's not particularly loud, but we had different schedules. So like it wasn't just quiet from like noise, but even like visual quiet, I guess you could say. She would breeze in and breeze out and come like grab things from the room and go out, and then like, oh, forgot another thing and come right back in. And every time she'd like pop back in, if I was in like a concentration mode or just like a chill, I'd have to reset every time she came back in. And that was something that I learned about myself.
I sense just a tiny bit of irritation on
Well, the thing
Shannon's
is,
part.
actually, she was quieter to me than she normally is because, like, normally, which I didn't see happen a lot at all on the cruise, she normally likes to listen to music. And I know I'm a quiet person. Like, I know I like pretty much silence. And I don't even know if one time on the cruise I remember you listening to music. I will say,
I had my
oh, you had your headphones in a lot. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. But I will say this. We do vacation together a lot. Like, although we didn't live together when we were, stay in the same room when we were young, we vacation together a lot. So we have had to be in hotel rooms together, like throughout our lives for, a week at a time or whatever. So I think some of those mannerisms we do know about each other. And I think we've both worked on over the years the things that we know. Like, I'm much better at trying to stay in my space on certain things and stuff like that. Like, I think it's stuff that, we've learned about traveling together. I mean, it is different. 9 months is definitely living together, not traveling together, but some of those things we did know.
Yeah, I was about to ask, had you traveled together as adults much, as sisters or even with your parents?
A little of both. Yeah.
both.
Yeah. Okay. Um,
We've definitely done all 4 of us in the hotel room a few times too, which that's
oh, really?
Three works, and
Yeah,
adding that fourth person is always a new dynamic.
Yeah.
No matter what the three are, it can be managed.
Yeah,
But when the fourth
yeah,
person's there, it's not any certain person. I think it just with any of them.
yeah. I can relate to that again with with my two daughters. Uh, say something about the serenade for those of us who haven't experienced her.
I'd say the Serenade's more like old cruise
Other than that,
days.
it's much smaller than
Like
Wonder.
if you were cruising before, or if you're seeing all of the commercials of all these grand new ships, the Serenade is much more like community focused and less more about the flashy, shiny
Yeah,
amenities.
I'd say smaller but intimate. You know what I mean? Smaller in
Hmm.
a good way, like
And you
intimate.
can get to ports that the big ships can't get to.
Yes, accessible, port accessible.
How about the dining? Did the food ever get monotonous?
Um, I mean, I think I find the food to be a phenomenon. And the reason I say that is because if you think about it at home, how many different things do you really eat? I don't really think that you eat so many different things, right? You kind of have your food that you eat. But when you're on a ship or on vacation, you expect it to be new all the time. So I think that the time that I started to get a little bit repetitive, we started to learn how to remix the menu, I would say. Um, so it might be certain items, but we try and mix it with something else. But we both have dietary restrictions. So we were a bit lucky in that sense because sometimes they made different things for us that weren't necessarily even on the menu for dietary restrictions. But I'll just say this. We ate off the ship a lot more in the last month or two of the cruise than we did in the beginning.
Yeah, at the beginning of the cruise, we were like, we paid for this. Why would we eat elsewhere? Like it's all we've already paid for all the food. We're gonna like make our day where we're out at the port and then we come back to the ship for lunch and then we go back out or something like to that effect. But then we would also Brandee with the remixing, we definitely did that. But it was also like the flavors weren't your flavors. So while the food was good, and even though you tend to go grocery shopping and buy similar things and cook similar things, your spice cabinet is your spice cabinet. And so I think in a few months in February, when we got to LA, I bought spices onto the ship. So I went out and got seasonings so that I could have some of the flavors that I was used to or wanted. But I ended up not using them as much as I thought I would. The main thing I ended up putting it on was pizza because I was gluten free, and the gluten free cheese pizza just didn't have the same flavor as well. I don't know what the other one tasted like because I didn't try it, but the gluten free cheese pizza needed a little bit of help. So I found this seasoning that I liked putting on that. And that was like the main thing that I re-seasoned.
Now, I have been on ships before, Royal Caribbean ships, where they actually have some cooking classes. Did you have anything like that?
We did a sushi
I
mix.
think they just had two. Yeah. Go ahead, Shan.
I was
Sorry.
saying we did sushi. We did the sushi at Izumi.
Yeah, that's what I did. The sushi class with my daughter.
And I think they technically had a cupcake class, but we didn't take it.
Oh yeah.
Those were the two, and it was just cupcake decorating. It wasn't like baking the cupcakes.
Yeah, the sushi class was great, and we left there over full. So how about the specialty restaurants? Are you all in general specialty restaurant people? And what did you try on Serenade?
I would say I'm a specialty restaurant person now, but I wasn't before.
Yeah, I mean, they had an amazing offer for Ultimate World Cruisers. You got 50% off of specialty dining. So the real hack was going for specialty dining lunch because the lunch was less and it was 50% off. So that was a good break from like the Windjammer dining room. You know, even though we still even knew the specialty dining menus by heart by the end, it was a good break from the monotony. We ate at all of them for sure.
What were they, the specialties?
Chops, Giovanni's, Izumi, Chef's Table. And they had, for a short-lived time, they had a celebration table.
Now, what did the celebration table entail?
The menu that they had was like American Southern, sort of, I
Yeah.
think was that one. It was like fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, I think pimento cheese, something.
I think they had some biscuits, maybe ribs.
So it was called celebration table and celebration of. I mean, how differentiate that from the chef's table? Is celebration of what?
It was meant to be like for people to maybe rent out for like a celebration, like a birthday or something. So
Oh,
they
okay.
were it was a rollout. They were trying to roll out a new menu or just like offerings because the chef's table's menu hasn't changed in years. But it was a pilot, and I don't think the pilot I don't think it went well. So
It might be on other ships because there were supposed to be different menus. We just got one
it
of
might be,
them.
but I think
I
they
don't
might
know.
have went back to the drawing board on all of them, if I'm not mistaken. But if it's on a ship, it's on the Wonder or Icon.
Why did you? What made it not go so well?
I don't know, honestly. It wasn't us so much. It was a corporate decision. I'm not sure. I have no idea.
And then you said towards the end of the sailing, you ate out much more. Anything special you discovered in the local food?
Europe is really good with gluten-free, so that had something to do with it as well. That we knew we could find like local fare, even like home staples in grocery stores, in restaurants. Like Europe does gluten-free pasta really well. We also took some cooking classes in different ports. So while we were in Florence, Italy, we did gluten-free pasta making class, and it was amazing. We took a cooking class in Moorea, which is in French Polynesia, and that was also wonderful. We did cooking in Namibia
Oh, wow.
and some of their local cuisines.
I was trying to think, did we do one on each? No, not the Americas. I was going to say, I wondered if we did one on each quarter, but I don't think we did one in the Americas. Well, we did the sushi class.
But on the ship,
These
yeah.
cooking excursions, were they cruise ship excursions or you found those on your own?
Definitely found them on our own. We don't really do cruise ship excursions. When you're a family of four, that adds up real fast. And usually, if I find it on my own, we can probably go for the price of one for all four
We
of us,
also
or
had
maybe only the price of two.
we were used to traveling.
And
Like
also,
we have been
go ahead.
travelers on our own for so long that we're used to finding the experiences on our own. And that Brandee is good at that. And she's typically our in-house travel agent before she was even going to do it.
And honestly, also, a lot of times it's like a lot of big group tours on the shore excursions, and that's not really our travel style. Well, it's not mine and Shannon's travel style. It works
Yeah.
really well for my dad.
Let's shift gears. Say a little bit about your, I think, short-lived podcast. Did it originate because of the Ultimate World Cruise?
It did not. I'd always wanted to podcast and I couldn't find anybody to do it with me. And even Brandee was kind of not on board at first, but I kept asking, like, you sure? I really want to do it, but I don't want to do a podcast by myself. And so she finally gave in because people are always asking us about our travels. And we started with the Instagram page of just how our travels were. At first, it was all of the travels we were doing together. And then we started highlighting together and individually. And we noticed that,
But I think the pandemic came. Like, I feel like either it started before the pandemic or we're just starting it during the pandemic, something like that.
yeah, the Instagram page was right before travel stopped.
So you didn't know
Yeah.
that the World Cruise was in your future, in your near future.
Not when we started
No.
it.
No.
So do you plan a reflections episode where you talk about the Ultimate World Cruise?
I don't think we thought about that. I think right now we're just trying to get our lives settled back in. We both have like a lot going on right now, but a reflections episode sounds interesting. Like, you know what I mean? But I don't think we thought that far.
Yeah, a lot of our reflections kind of were happening as we went on social media. And then like Brandee still does live postings on socials and talks to people. I've kind of pulled back on live engagement with people and like live questioning, but I've been on I'm on other people's podcasts reflecting, but we haven't done a reflection together yet. Yeah, that would be a good idea. We've kind of been on pause with the Brandon Files as the podcast. Like season one was great. Season two, we tried to do some on the ship, but it turned out to be better to just go live together.
Yeah.
And we haven't done anything with those recordings, so we could potentially put those up. Yeah, and then give us some time to figure out life back in and um, new adventures. Yeah.
And new routines and everything. I think season one, we both kind of had our own space and kind of a semi-regular routine. And then season two, everything was kind of always in motion, literally motion in the ocean.
So you haven't done a reflections video or reflections podcast, but you have appeared on other podcasts. If I were to ask you, put you on the spot, what is your lasting reflection from the cruise for each of you? Let's start with you, Brandon. What would Brandon? There you go. That Brandon Files is a pretty nice mashup because I just said
You see
Brandon.
what we did there? See what we did there?
That's what our name came
Yep,
from. Is our
yep.
name mashed together.
Well, we'll start with you, Shannon. What is your lasting impression of the Ultimate World Cruise?
I think it was an amazing experience that I would definitely do again, particularly because, well, a few things. The relationships that we formed, like I have a whole new set of aunties and uncles. There was a group of cruisers that we really bonded with. And then also there's a couple of groups of cruisers, like the people. The people make the difference for cruisers and crew because they became like family as well. And then just to be able to see so much of the world in it, although 9 months sounds long to most people, that is a short amount of time to have seen over 60 countries. So the fact that we didn't have to go up and down on flights and unpack and repack, I can't beat that. So
Now, I know, and this will really put you on the spot because 60 countries that's just awesome. And if you had to pick just one place, what was your highlight?
that's never going to be an easy answer.
Too tough, huh?
So since it was broken up into like quads in terms of, I'll pick one for each segment. So there was the Americas, and within the Americas, actually, I'm going to clump this, even though they're very distinct, and say the Caribbean is still top for me. I still really enjoy the Caribbean islands. And then we did Asia Pacific and Moorea. I mentioned it for the cooking class, but I really enjoyed Moorea and French Polynesia and just the chill island life there. And we did after Africa, like, ooh, that one's hard. That's where the hard part comes in, is when we get to Africa. I don't know if I have a favorite country. I've enjoyed Ghana previously and had a good time in Ghana again, but we did an independent journey as a family that was not part of the cruise. And I really enjoyed our time in both Botswana and Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then for Europe and beyond, I was pleasantly surprised by Norway.
Okay. How about you, Brandee? What's your lasting impressions?
I plead the fifth. Oh, I can give you my lasting, but I can give you my lasting, but I'm not giving you my favorite. Can't do it. Can't do it. My lasting impression, seriously,
Because you can't do it because there was so much. You just literally can't differentiate the best from the rest.
yeah,
Or
because I feel like every country has its own special thing, right? Like find something unique in every place. I can't say that I have one place that rises above all of them
uh-huh.
at all. But I would say my lasting impression is just the blessing of it all, if I'm honest. I mean, just from, like Shannon said, from the relationships with the people, be it crew or other cruisers. And then just, I feel like I've been in a lot of reflection since I've been back, just to like how much we have in America, like how much stuff we have. And also that I don't know that I need all of that stuff anymore. You know what I mean? I think I really reflected on how simple sometimes people live in other countries and how happy they are with just that simplicity. So just really being thankful for what I have and having had the experience and relationships that will definitely last a lifetime.
Yeah, I sense that you all made some lasting relationships. I know in a couple of the other folks that I've interviewed from the cruise, especially with what's that site you mentioned? Point My Soul North. Yeah, Leslie.
Point My Soul North with Leslie.
I mean, she
Yeah.
seems to really not to be giving out her business, but she did tell it to the world when she was on the show. She seems to be missing some of the relationships that she formed.
Yeah, she and I connect a decent bit. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you each of you do in your
Well,
me time when not cruising around the world?
Go ahead, Shannon.
yeah, travel before the cruise was my me time. And I would say I'm actually doing what for me less, even though I'm still traveling around the US. It's less than I've been doing more travel by car than by plane or by cruise. Um, and it's been more like visiting friends and family that I hadn't seen the whole 9 months that we were gone. And then also, I got engaged while we were gone. So I've been planning a wedding. That's what my main focus has been going.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I usually still travel, probably just on land. So I'm always up for an adventure, for something new, seeing a new place. Yeah, so probably travel and cooking. Probably those two are what I like to do in my me time.
Now, here there is some talk about a reunion cruise. Is, are you up on that? Are you thinking about that or committed to that?
Yeah.
Me too. And I was on the ship. Most people booked while they were there, while we were still on the ship.
Oh, well, that settles that. So, when is it going to be, and where, and what on what ship?
It's on the Serenade and it's September 10th, I believe. It's like a year from when we disembarked or somewhere close to there.
So September of 25.
Yes.
Okay, so you chose to go back on the same ship. You have a group? How many?
I don't know for sure, but based on like our little Facebook group, I'm sure it's over half. I'm sure it's at least 60%, and it's to Alaska. So it's a whole different
Have you been?
beast. I've never been to Alaska, so I'm excited about that.
No, our parents have been, but neither of us have been.
Yeah, are your parents going on the reunion?
Yes, I'm rooming with my parents. I got kicked out from my roommate.
I asked her before, and she
Uh,
said no.
now I suspect. Well, maybe I shouldn't presume. I was going to say she did get engaged. Is that
Yeah, so I got misplaced.
that's,
I got unhoused.
that? So that has something to do with it,
Yeah.
then.
No, I chose to room with my parents. I'm just being silly.
And so now,
And I don't know what your 2025 is looking like, but I don't know if it's sold out or not. You might be able to get on it too.
I love Alaska. I've only been once, but it quickly became one of my favorite places in the world. Um, I feel like I know a little bit about the Ultimate World Cruise. I've had a few of you on the podcast. I suspect I'll have a couple more before September 25. I'm thinking a great idea would be to have you all back after that cruise,
We'd love to do it.
and we'll do a cruise report. You know what? I'd even like to go as far as inviting your parents. Then that's up to y'all to, if you won't want to be bothered. But yeah, sounds like something nice we can do. A little less than a year from now. Just touch base, see how everybody's doing. To the best of your knowledge, that you were able to gather on the cruise, meet your parents, and talk about Alaska, which I love to talk about. So I think that would be nice.
They'd enjoy
I'll,
that. I think that would be great.
I'll pencil it in.
Sounds good. If you love Alaska, though, I highly encourage Antarctica.
So I've heard. Yeah, I just did a podcast with a family. I think the youngest one was like 8 years old, and they did Antarctica, and they all did the polar plunge.
Yeah.
So so I have on in my promotion for it, I had some video of each of them doing the polar plunge. So yeah, that's a bucket list item. Polar plunge is not, but Antarctica is. Do you have any? What do you have booked? Sounds like you are always thinking about going somewhere.
Wow. Okay. Well, for me, yet this year, I still have Costa Rica, New York, Chicago, and Miami. And then next year, we've got Morocco, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Zambia, Egypt, Kenya, Tanzania,
Oh,
Zanzibar right now on the books. Oh, and maybe St. Martin.
wow. Are you adopting?
I am not adopting. I am not adopting.
Just thought I'd ask. How about you, Shannon? Is your bucket list as filled as Brandy's?
Um, as of right now, I've got Michigan for the holidays on, and the reunion cruise. That's as far as I
I
know.
was going to say, I think our funds are going two different places.
Well, you got a big event coming up, so what do you do now? Do you feel any pressure to try to top the Ultimate World Cruise? Although, Brandy, with your plans kind of top the World Cruise.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, they're group trips that I'm organizing. So it's not like it's just me going, but I am I wouldn't ever say top because I think each experience has its own unique thing, but I am excited about spending more time by doing land. You know, cruises are great, but they kind of are a good overview. You don't get to spend as much in-depth time. So I'm excited about being more in-depth via land.
And I wouldn't say top either. Probably just do some different experiences. There were quite a few cruisers that live the RV life, and when they're home. And I think traveling around the U.S. because there's quite a bit of the U.S. that I haven't seen, um, is something that I'm working towards.
And yeah, like Shannon, I know she's going to love it. She wanted to do that already, but I drove my car back from LA to Michigan with this whole nomad thing. And I started going to some of the national parks, and they have been beautiful. Since we've been back from the cruise, I've driven across country. So I've been to like 6 national parks since we got back in September and 4 state parks or something.
I would like to see some of the places that we missed because of itinerary changes. I mean, I've yet to go to Egypt and I haven't seen the pyramids yet, so they're definitely on my list. Although we went to Corfu, Greece, I want to see more other parts of Greece as well. Um, and we missed Ephesus. I would like to see that. Um, Also, I don't know, maybe I'm going to get on my sister's group trip. Zanzibar has been on my list as well.
I'll let you go, Shan. I definitely have
Um,
one.
those are the ones that come to mind off the top.
So what's on your travel bucket list? Do you have one? I mean, you pretty much have seen the world.
For me, I want to go back to Antarctica and do an expedition. I want to do the polar plunge. Um,
Oh, you want to go back? So you've been there.
yeah, we went on the cruise, but we just got to do
Oh,
cruising.
okay,
We didn't get to get
okay,
off because
okay,
our ship was too big. So I want to do an expedition one where you actually get to get off and like have a little bit more in-depth experience.
okay.
Um, if you backed me in a corner and made me pick one of my favorite things, it would be in Antarctica, I think still. Um, and then I'd like to see Fiji. Yeah, those are probably my top two, Antarctica and Fiji at the moment.
Now, some of your group travel sounds pretty exotic. Are your parents thinking about any of them, or it's not that kind of group?
No, I mean, it could be it's not that. I don't think that I don't know that they're signing up to go on any long trips
Okay.
at the moment. They might, because like my sister said, none of them have been to Egypt at this point. Yeah, I don't know. They might.
Before we let you go, couple of light questions, and then perhaps a fun oddball question. I call it oddball, and that it doesn't have anything to do with cruising or travel. But what are your favorite cruise drinks and cruise foods?
That's a fun one. You got anything, Shannon?
I can't remember the name of it. Like the Serenade Sparkle, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the pre celebration or chef's table pre-drink was, I think, how they had it. But every bar you could get it if you remembered the name of it, and it's more sparkly drink.
What about your favorite food? I
Um,
was like, huh.
I feel like whenever there was Caribbean, Southern, or I can't remember there was like three different themes.
Creole.
Yeah,
Creole.
and having like rice and peas and oxtails and plantains, and that menu in the Windjammer was my favorite.
I'm gonna ditto you on that. I'm gonna ditto you on that. That was always a good, nice feeling. And then for my favorite cruise drinks, I created 4 custom cocktails on the cruise. So those will be my favorite cruise drinks.
Well, are you going to tell us what those 4 custom cocktails are?
Let me see if I can. Lavender Field. I did one for each of the 4 segments that Shannon talked about before. So we had one was the B&V celebration. It was a bourbon-based drink. And we had the Asian Blossom for the Asian segment, and Lavender Fields for Europe, and African Sunset was for Africa. Let's see. African Fields was gin based, I believe. African Sunset had rum, and the Asian Blossom. No, the Asian Blossom was gin based. The European one, I think, was vodka based. The Lavender Fields, I think, was vodka based.
Lavender Fields.
Did either of you try any exotic dishes in those exotic lands that you visited that you wouldn't try in America? Or let's say that you haven't tried in America?
Oh, wouldn't try again, you mean?
I would actually do it again.
You would?
Would.
Okay, well, I'll let Shannon tell what it is. Well, one of them anyway.
So when we were in Namibia and we took the cooking class, we rehydrated and cooked mopani worms. And so we cooked them with like tomato and onion. So the flavors were there. Like the flavor tasted like tomato and onion. It just was the texture and knowing that you were eating a worm where the problem came in. It wasn't that the taste was bad.
Yeah, it was the texture for me. I couldn't finish chewing. I had to just swallow at some point. But I also don't even like shrimp, and it kind of reminded me of shrimp texture-ish. I don't know. But I did have alpaca in Peru, and I would eat that again. Alpaca's kind of like steak. It's like a red meat.
What else? And you ate kudu also?
Oh yeah, I did have kudu. Yeah, I forgot about that. Kudu is also, it's in the deer antelope family, also red meat-ish.
I feel like there was one more.
Who knows? I was being real adventurous on this trip with the food.
Yeah, so that would have been before your dad turned into a vegan.
He wasn't eating it though, but yes, it was before he turned into a vegan. We didn't turn into vegans.
Oh, so he didn't eat any of the that African game.
He was only with us in at one of those occasions. He was only with us in the kudu with the kudu.
He might have had kudu.
Huh?
He might have had kudu.
He did
because it was on. I think may have it was. I think it was on the breakfast buffet also at our resort.
Oh, okay. So yeah, but yeah, that was the only location he was. He wasn't with us for the alpaca or the worms.
So what's your on this cruise? What was your most memorable or funniest, or even most embarrassing cruise or port experience?
I would say, I don't know, maybe memorable. Maybe memorable is where it falls in. The guest talent show. So we had, they had crew talent shows, and we got to see how talented the crew are beyond their day jobs. And that was amazing. But then we were like, there's so many of us on the ship. I bet there's some talent here. And we did like a Zumba crew dance, and it was really fun to do. And I was out front and center, and people were really surprised to see me in that capacity. So I think it was funny to me how surprised people were to see me front and center.
Now, I take it, are you kind of introverted?
I am until I'm not.
Reserved. I would say reserved. I wouldn't say introverted.
And when you see the two of us together and our personalities are not at all the same. So I think because also they see Brandee being so out front in daily life and like the social butterfly, and I just sit back and watch everything, that they were surprised that I'm not, that I would even get up there based on how I am on like a regular day.
Now, was Brandee a part of that?
Yes.
Yes.
Did y'all win, or was there were no winners? It was just.
There was no winning, but we were the closing act, and probably and yeah, it was a good closing act. Yeah, there was no competition.
Well, even and like crew members coming up to me afterwards on the ship because they play the replay on TV and they're like, I saw you.
Okay, the oddball question. So I know some of your huge social media following is listening. Welcome to the many I Am Brandee Lake, Brandon Files fans and friends. We certainly hope you have enjoyed listening to the Joy Cruising Podcast. And we'll come back to listen to additional episodes. Follow the Joy Cruising Podcast on IG and join our Facebook group. Share one thing individually, Brandee and Shannon, that my listeners and your friends and fans don't know about each of Brandee and Shannon.
My one thing is I was once a certified lifeguard.
There you go.
Actually, a lot of people probably don't know this, that I'm a librarian.
You know, I asked were you an introvert. Brandee said you were reserved. Kind of follows that you were a librarian. That is good to know. Both of those are public service capacity. So good. I wish I could be a lifeguard.
I do want to clarify something though. I never worked as a lifeguard. I was certified. I went through all the training and had all of the qualifications to be one, but I never wanted that pressure.
Well, I wish I was certified as one. I'm not sheepish to admit it because so many of my listeners know it by now, but I can't even swim. So
wait a minute, Paul.
No, that's true.
You're on all these cruise ships and you can't swim?
That's true, yep. The way I rationalize it, and I know this is kind of morbid, but those 3,000 people on the ocean are going down. I'm going down with a lot of friends. So,
and I hope you have life jackets and lifeboats. So hopefully you're just not going down.
That's right. Brandee and Shannon, thank you so much for coming on the Joy Cruising Podcast. This has been a lot of fun. I'm quite serious about having you all back with your parents next year. I think that will be fun as well. All the best with your future endeavors. And, I look forward to speaking with you again. And as I like to say, we will see you on the ocean.
See you then.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99 can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.